I call the Honourable Member Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, it will be good, because I'm going to start off with the context of the Corrections Amendment Bill, and the context of that is since National came into government, prison performance is improving, and I think that is something that is to the credit of the previous Minister, Judith Collins, and now following on very strongly with the current Minister, Anne Tolley, who is the Minister in charge of this bill. And I think it's worth perhaps rehearsing that public confidence in corrections, and that's so how the people our people feel about corrections, is 53% higher than it was under the Labor government. So that's the public perception of how corrections is performing has increased by 53%. It's also worth noting that positive random drug tests of prisoners are at their lowest, and again, that is under the stewardship of a national government. Interestingly also, because prisons under this government are not just about punishment, but it's about turning prisoners' lives around and providing them with opportunity for when they get back into society. It's really heartening to see that prisoners achieved 108,000 NZQA credits in literacy and numeracy in the year 2010 and 11. Well, that is fantastic news, and that is the kind of work that the national government is doing for our prison population in New Zealand. And furthermore, prisoner escapes are at their lowest ever. Now, that is a figure which is a reflection of the high regard that the national successive ministers under the national government have held correction staff. It has made a difference. This government backs correction staff, and it is making a difference in how they perform their duties. They feel valued, and their work is being reflected in these statistics. Now, this bill is intended to reduce those barriers, some of those barriers to effectiveness and also to efficiency in prisons. And the previous speaker made a couple of points, and I just want to perhaps have a look at some of those issues that was raised by the previous Labor speaker. The first one is about Clause 19A, health centre managers, if that member's looked at the bill yet. And what it says is that for every prison, the Chief Executive must appoint under State Sector Act a health centre manager. Now, in practice, that health centre manager will be a registered medical practitioner or a nurse. Now, I'm guessing that mostly it will be a nurse, and when I visited Milton Prison perhaps 18 months ago, I met with that nurse because I was interested in the treatment of a particular prisoner. And it was very interesting to go into that unit at Milton Prison to see that that nurse had an ongoing relationship not only with the prisoner I was interested in, but the general prison population. And I think that what this clause in the bill strengthens the standing of the health centre manager within our prison service. I see that as a good thing. And the other thing that, if the member cares to have a look at Clause 20 of the bill on prison officers, for every prison there must be sufficient number of medical officers to meet prisoners' needs for medical care and medical treatment, and that, of course, each medical officer must be a medical practitioner. Now, in the case of the prisoner that I was approached by and that I was interested in, what happened was there was an episode of abdominal pain lasting over a couple of days. That prisoner was checked on by the medical staff on a regular basis, taken into the health centre, and then when it was judged that maybe it was appendicitis, that prisoner was then taken off and put into the hands of the District Health Board. It had a happy ending. The prisoner was well cared for. He was secure at all times. I happen to think that the provisions in this bill will not only strengthen that procedure, but will make it a whole lot more easier both for the prisoner and also the prison staff. I want also that member on the other side of the House to have a look at Clause 25, which is regarding the restraint of prisoners. And if that member had read that clause carefully, he probably would have seen that there are a number of safeguards written into this bill, and in fact will improve the safeguards on behalf of the prisoner, not just the prison staff, not behalf of the prison service, but will actually safeguard the interests of the prisoner. And so what it says, for the benefit of the members opposite who probably haven't looked at this clause, is that a prison manager may authorise the use of a mechanical restraint on a prisoner for more than 24 hours only if, in the opinion of a medical officer, and I think that's the key point in here, the opinion of a medical officer, continued restraint is necessary to protect the prisoner from self-harm. So this is not a punitive clause, this is to protect a prisoner from self-harm. Now I had to think about this a little bit because I heard the objection coming across from the other side of the House. And I had to think about, well, where's the problem? And I don't see the problem because I think this is a clause which is there to protect prisoners from self-harm. And I think you have to recall what happened previously. And previously, under the current Act, in those circumstances, the prison manager had to go outside the prison to a justice. So the decision about whether a prisoner was mechanically restrained was a legal decision. And now the decision will be, under this bill, will be a medical decision. Now, to me, that's quite smart thinking. And the next thing you may well be thinking about, well, where are the safeguards? Well, the safeguards are still in Clause 25, but if you have a look at 5A, those safeguards are that an authorisation by the medical officer needs to be in writing, specify the type of restraint to be used, specify the time for which the prisoner is to be kept under restraint, and include a record of the medical officer's opinion that the restraint is necessary to protect the prisoner from self-harm. So, yes, let's have a look at these two clauses in the Select Committee process. Let's call for submissions on these two and many other clauses in this bill, and let's have a good look at them. But on the surface of it, and I will be giving this due consideration, as will we all in the Law and Order Select Committee, as will my colleagues from throughout the House, but on the first reading of it, I think that perhaps the members' misgivings are a little bit unfounded. I want to move also to one of the clauses in the bill with regard to strip searches. Now, we all know that contraband and drugs are a problem in prison, although, albeit under this national government, that problem we are much less and we are getting it under control, but it too is addressed in this legislation. Now, strip searches, there are, and I would have to flick through the bill because I'm relatively new to it myself, but strip searches, gosh, is that really 8 minutes? Clause 6 in the bill, thank you, very good minutes. 26. You want more? Oh, yes, you do. Oh, the members do. I do beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker. Strip searches, again, if you do go, and the previous member did refer to the regulatory impact statements, I think it's worth having a look on page 4 to note that the legislation will continue to require that the details of reasonable grounds for strip searches must be promptly reported to the prison manager, who must ensure that a record of that report is made and kept. So they are pertinent questions to be raised in this House by other members, and I can assure the House and I can assure the Minister that the Law and Order Select Committee will give these issues and all the others contained in this bill their serious consideration, and I commend the bill to the House.
I call the Honourable Member Chris